So what is the big question? What is the big story with the academy? And it's all around adaptability in organizations. You know, when you look at the track record of how well organizations adapt to change, the record's pretty dismal. Okay, why is that? It's because, you know, organizations tend to believe that life is quite causative, you know, cause follows effect, follows cause, follows effect. And therefore they make a business plan, okay? And the business plan is set up to A, prepare for the inevitable, preempt the undesirable, and control the controllable. And then they go and hire experts like you to come and relentlessly deliver solutions, right? Solutions because, you know, organizations don't like temporary incompetence, you know. That could be quite career limiting. If you don't have the answer, you got a problem. So what do you folk do? What you do is keep taking solutions from the vault, you know, from yesterday. So you take solutions from yesterday, apply it to problems today, and sometimes tomorrow engulfs you. And when it does, you know, the organization picks up this re-term, you know. They re-engineer, they restructure, they reinvent, they retrench, and sometimes they rehire, you know. But bottom line, what you've got to understand is no amount of rubbing lines on an organization chart is going to make a difference as long as you're not rubbing the lines from this thing called the neocortex, you know. And that's the habit of the mind. So what does the academy have in terms of a statement of solution? And we've got this 5-point plan that I know all the Voyager participants either know or will be amazed to find out now. Number one, it's around this concept of attention. I know that you know, the groups that are going to be presenting directly afterwards are going to be talking to some of these, so I'm going to be careful I keep their powder dry. Yeah. But what is attention to your inner and outer worlds? William James said in 1895 that, hey, whatever I attend to is my experience. Otherwise, it's just gone by. And if you look at contemplative practice, it tells you that what you have as a mind is part Hoover and part spotlight. Okay? So whatever you spotlight, the Hoover sucks up. All right? And because we are neuroplastic, you know, because our brains are constantly changing, whatever the mind picks up, just ineffable thought, you know, thought that doesn't have any material form, goes and changes your brain materially. That is neuroplasticity. So you want to be very careful what you're paying attention to. You need to be mindful, you need to be present, you need to be awake, you need to be aware, you need to be attuned. That's a lot of words that I'll leave the Voyager guys to tell you what it is, yeah? The second big thing is around collective wisdom. It's a term we use a lot in the Voyager, and you'll hear all these fabulous participants who present later talking about it a lot. So what is collective wisdom? Collective wisdom is the clear and present knowledge that regardless of how smart you are and how stupid you think everybody else is, by God, the Gestalt combination of both is far smarter than anything you can come up with. Okay? Walter Mischel proved it with mice, and hey, we'll prove it with men, you know, and women, of course, yeah. All right, so that's collective wisdom. What's collaborative inquiry? Okay? Collaborative inquiry says, just like Robin Dunbar, you know, who's an anthropologist who's done a lot of work with primates, chimpanzees and apes, really, because you don't know how close you are to chimpanzees and apes. But the catch is that we are ultra-social, and each one of us has the ability to make connections with 100 people, 150 people max, okay, regardless of how many friends you think you have on Facebook, yeah? All right, so the fact is that with these 100 people, You can engage in language, and you can engage in gossip. And gossip is a, non-zero-sum game. Gossip, if I gossip about you and you gossip about me and somebody else hears both of our gossips, they're richer for having heard. But more importantly, if you can structure that gossip so that there's form to it, so there's insightful questioning, there's respectful listening, there's critical reflection, then by God, what you've got is not gossip, but strategic conversation, okay? And then the fourth thing that we work on in the academy is this concept of root causes of success. Now, in human systems, regardless of how crappy the system is, something works, all right? And if we focus on what works, the chances are that you can release human energy. Because the questions we ask create the worlds we live in, it kind of makes sense to ask positive questions. So instead of looking after the root cause of failure, what each one of these people are going to present to you is conversation around root causes of success. Because knowledge and organizational development completely depend on the positivity of your viewpoint. And finally, there's this conversation about experiential learning. And as I've drilled into every single person I've ever met in my life, that, hey, once you've done, stop and reflect, because you're a human being, you're not a human doing, So after doing, can you just look back like women do so well? Look back and reflect. And having reflected, change your theory about life, and having changed that, go plan and do something again. In addition, so that's experiential learning, and I know all of you are experts at that, but in addition, what we try to tell people in the academy is that there is this thing of experiencing learning, okay? Because the self, like John Dewey said in 1895, is a work in progress, You're never completed till it's too late. So that was a joke. All right. So it's important to understand, therefore, that experiencing learning is a huge part of personal transformation and development. If you do all this, we promise you, you will be different.